You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
Welcome to the Practical Wealth Show. My guest today is Mr. Ryan Clark. Ryan is the founder and president of Qube Money. And so let me tell you a little bit about Ryan. Early on, Ryan found success with real estate, flipping 5 houses at the age of 18. Later, as a mortgage broker, he found that his true passion was to teach people about money. My favorite subject, right? In 2004, Ryan entered the financial services industry. And in 2014, he authored his first book, The Order of Wealth, which explains a simple process anyone can use to create and keep wealth. As a financial planner for more than 10 years, Ryan watched his clients fail. We've seen the same thing, Ryan, at budgeting over and over again. And he would recommend programs, but none of them seemed to stick. He saw some success with some traditional cash envelope budgeting system. However, they usually fall off the wagon. So true when clients shopped online. So when Ryan took the cash envelope system, he made it digital. Okay. And Ryan launched Qube Money, intending to provide better tools, systems, and training for clients, allowing them to work towards real financial freedom. Ryan, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thank you, Curtis. I'm excited to be here.
Anything I didn't tell them that they should know?
Thing that's the underlining or the undertone of that whole story, that whole journey is passion for helping people really achieve wealth. I think there's so many people, they get out there, they're not sure what to do, so look for advice, and often that advice turns into get this product or get that product. And one thing that I believe very strongly, I think we're on the same boat here, or on the same page, is there's lots of great tools out there, but the guide or the expert that knows how to use the tools to create something or to scale that mountain or whatever the analogy is, that's the thing that a lot of people are missing. And that comes back to an element of why and purpose, not so much the how or the what, but really that why. And so my why throughout my whole journey has always been this passion for helping people really achieve more. I went down the path of being a traditional financial planner. And maybe you did the same thing there, Curtis, because it sounds like we're more of the holistic types, which is great. That's where I believe there's a lot more value. But the traditional, they're very much ingrained into a product, to a method there, or the what and the how.
We call it the accumulation theory, right? Of accumulation. And I like what you're saying, because I told people, look, it's like Simon Sinek, right? How is why, then how, then what, and most of them lead with the what, the product.
Mm-hmm. And that ultimately, that I think for a lot of people, and they feel the emptiness that can come from that. Yeah, accumulation's great over time, but to what end? And it is true, if you have accumulation, there are possibilities with it, but then you get into those problems of distribution, which I think you're alluding to. And if you don't have the full trip, if you don't have the full financial house, or there's different analogies there.
Right.
If you don't have that why backing your entire journey, you're going to miss out on the essence of life. And that's really where my passion is helping people achieve their purpose and helping them reach the intentionality and growth mindset, so that they can be more of who they really want to be. And money is just a catalyst. It's a tool to help achieve that, but it also can be a slave, or can make you into a slave.
Yes. I like the fintech, because one of the things that we talk to our clients about, most wealth is lost by how people manage cash flow. Like that's where the rubber meets the road. And most advisors don't want to be bothered with that, because their goal is they want assets under management, because that's how they get paid. And but this is where I won't even say middle, well, definitely upper middle America. Most people, if I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself on how you manage cash flow? I barely get over a 4.
And you're hitting on something that's really, really huge. And it's the same thing that bothered me. It's probably bothered you forever. And that is that it's almost impossible for an advisor, as much as they would like to, it's almost impossible for them to really get into the nitty gritty and help someone manage their cash flow well, because it's so tedious. And this is the problem that I had also. So I was writing my book, and I was developing some software that went along with it. And I was just frustrated because I really didn't have anything for that cash flow element. I'm like, I want something here. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a better way. And you mentioned fintech. Technology can do the tedious, it can do that part. I knew of cash envelopes and how amazing that system was. And it has been for the last 100 years. Every guru talks about it. People use it all the time when you really want to change your spending behavior, because it's so incredibly effective. But I hate carrying cash. How about you?
Right. I might have $10 on me. Right.
Yeah.
So
I never have cash. My kids are
right.
like, hey, do you have some money for this? Nope. Sure don't.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
So,
it's funny. We'll drive past those lemonade stands on the side of the road, and I feel so bad. I want to stop and buy a lemonade, but I don't have a dollar.
right.
They need to put
Okay.
like Venmo or Square, Visa,
Right.
MasterCard
Right.
accepted all day long.
Right. That's funny. So what happens is with the invent of those things, credit cards, Venmo, Cash App, who has cash? And then how do you manage your budget in an electronic world?
Right. And that is where the industry is slowly going, but the banks don't have any real big incentive to go that way so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people kind of want it. So right now we're seeing a little bit of some categorization type tools come into banking systems. But what I knew I wanted is what people really want is they want a way to manage their cash flow, right?
Yes.
Having just an empty bucket to park their cash in, that's not cutting it either anymore. Because if you look at how people did things 20 years ago, it was different. They actually managed their cash flow with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But going digital has disconnected people from that purpose because everything gets put into one bucket. For all of us advisors, we're trying to get in there and help our clients, but the environment that we're helping them in makes it even more difficult.
Yeah. So tell me how can couples, I want to jump right into that, couples manage their finances successfully? And like when you think about like the app or the software as a tool, is there a philosophy that precedes that allows that the technology supports? You understand what I mean?
Couples.
Yeah, for couples, for individuals. I mean, I'm not going to close your market down, right? But yes.
Yeah. But couples is a big one. I mean, look at how many divorces happen because people feel robbed, they feel cheated, they feel betrayed because the one partner's not managing money according to whatever expectation the other had, whether it was disclosed or not. I mean, there's lots of issues there, but ultimately money becomes a huge betrayal factor.
Yeah.
And causes divorce. So yeah, for couples, it is a very important thing, and it's one that's dear to my heart as well. I mean, we have at Qube Money one of our leading whys, or instead of our mission statement is to reduce the divorce rate.
That's nice.
And we believe we can do that because when you can change the fundamental essence of how the environment of how money works, if the system itself enables communication, enables and supports planning just naturally, it's going to happen. But right now, a bank is just a bucket. You park money and it does nothing to support any kind of philosophy.
Right.
So again, for anyone that's trying to get onto some sort of a program, it's almost impossible to stay with it long term because the environment of how money works does not support anything.
Right.
So we get into more debt. Anyway, but so what we did with Qube Money is we've enabled communication. If you change the plan, it's going to notify the other partner. When you're spending, it's sending these messages. So we've amplified communication, making it very simple in real time. But the main thing, because I haven't said this yet, the main thing that we did is we took the behaviors, we focused on the behaviors and the whys of what cash envelopes does, and made sure that we digitized that or brought that over in a digital method that would precisely mimic what was happening.
Oh, cool. Okay. Elaborate on that.
Okay. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah.
So how cash envelopes works is really genius. It's so simple, but it's just genius, right? First off, the bank and the budget have to be the same thing because it has to be real, right? One of the biggest problems is this disconnect with a budget being over here on a napkin or a spreadsheet or inside of some sort of an app. That's one thing with fake numbers. And they're real numbers, but they're not tied to real money. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a disconnect.
Yes.
And then you have your bank account over here. There's just one big account and it's just all your money lumped together. So what inevitably happens to everybody is when they're at the store and the budget's saying you can only spend $5, and they're like, oh, I'll show you. I got thousands of dollars over here. They'll just go blow the money because where the real money is in the bank account. Yeah. So that first disconnection is a huge one. So, and that's why cash envelopes works, because if you want to spend, you have to use the system. You open up your wallet. Yeah. And the first thing you have to do is answer two quick questions in your mind. Which category or which envelope am I pulling the money from? And do I have enough? So you do that, grab the money, put it in your hand, and you pay. What we've done with Qube is mimic that same thing. So in order to spend, you just open your app. You've got all your envelopes, all your categories, all your cubes, as we call them, all listed right there. And you just tap on which one you want to spend from. That money now loads up onto the card, and you swipe and go.
Oh, so you have a card that goes with the app.
Correct. Yeah. So Qube Money is an app and a card, the debit card, and then the app has all your cubes on it. So the key with the whole process is that you have to use the system. What that does is, just like with cash envelopes, you have to make a choice. The human has to engage their brain and do what humans do best, which is making decisions. They make a decision on where the money's coming from. That money loads up onto the card, and now they can swipe. If you don't do that first step, if you just swipe, there's no money. It declines the transaction.
Huh.
So it enables, it requires intentionality, which immediately changes spending behavior.
So in working with that, something similar where I want people to have an account like for fixed bills for spending, but I want the couples to have, like, when they both have a car, like I want them to have money in an account that they've allocated, but they don't have to ask for permission. You know, you don't have to be, this is the money that you've allocated for usage this week or this month. That's what's in there. You move that in there, and when that's empty, okay, it's ramen noodles. You know, so you empty if you empty the account by Thursday and you replenish it every Saturday, it's ramen noodles until then. Like that. So do each of them have does everybody in the, like, does each couple have a card, and then they both see the app and where the money is? So I'm liking this. So
yes, that's exactly what happens. So it's real time. Both couples, or each couple has, each partner can see the exact same information. It's all real time. So as one's spending, the other one's being notified of that, and any changes they make in the plan, it's all real time. They see the same view, basically. So that, again, that heightens communication. One of the settings that a couple could choose to set up on a Qube for a category could be, like, let's say it's vacation to Disneyland. Because you always have the ability to move money between Qubes. Because the reality of budgets also, and this is another reason why a lot of budgets fail and why people hate them, is because inevitably your demands that month are going to be different than they were the month before or the month before that. So you inevitably have to be able to move money from clothing into food, right? Or whatever it is.
Right.
But when you do that, you're changing the plan. And so there's a notification that's sent to the partner saying, hey, Ryan just moved money from clothing to food, just FYI. However, you can have some Qubes that are locked. You can hit that setting, and now it requires a partner permission. So if I want to move money out of the Disneyland vacation, she's going to have to approve before I can move that money. Others are unlocked, so you can just move freely and it just sends a communication, but the other one requires an approval. And again, that's to avoid that situation where the one comes back. Those different settings to help a couple create a plan that works for them, that is going to magnify communication between them, and allow for the communication to be there so that the betrayal factor never is an issue, right? If one changes the plan, that's great, but you don't want to find out about it a week later and go, you spent how much on what? And I was planning on that money for this, and you want to avoid all that. And so Qube helps a lot with the communication inside.
Have a lot of couples where it's like, we're like roommates. Like their money's separate. They're together, but separate. Like, is that couple just not a good candidate for this? Or they just need to work towards, if they want to create wealth, maybe we got to come together on this. Like, what would be your thought process there?
Great thought. Yeah. And there's plenty of couples like that where they have his money, her money, and then they have their money. Yeah. And so what do you do? Yeah, there's a lot. And for many couples, that's a perfect way to go. So there's different ways that you could create that inside of Qube. So what most of our users have found works just fine, because you can spin up a new Qube, you just push the plus button and there it is. Then they'll create a his money and a her money. So they see the same stuff, but they have his money, her money, and it's their blow money. And that works for a lot of couples. Other couples want to have separate accounts and kind of have more privacy than that shared view that I just mentioned. And so they might set up their own individual accounts and then have a joint account as well. And Qube can accommodate all of those. So basically what we've tried to do, and as you and I know, money is never done one way for everyone.
Right.
There's certain best practices, but they have to be able to customize it. So we've been building Qube in a way that allows for that customization to happen. So people can design it, set it up, turn settings on and off, and customize it for themselves.
Right. I like that. One of the things, the envelope system is it's like somebody call it dieting. You got to have smaller plates, right? So if you just leave all the money in one account, you think you have all this money. But if you begin to move it out and categorize it just that alone, just moving it out takes it off your mind. Like I do a similar version of that for the business and personal, and I don't leave it in my general account. I got to tax, I move it out so that I only work on one account. And so when that gets low, it's like, all right, it just makes me work harder, even though I have money over there, but you got to have the discipline to not touch it. And then, kind of for people that are listeners that are in business, you kind of got to work. You have to be able to generate new money, or it's just discipline, but you need a system. You don't have this is a book out called Willpower Doesn't Work. Right. Mm-hmm. You need something that will kind of encourage, like you said, those behaviors. But let me tell you, if they start doing that, their financial life will change, because if you make savings a priority, like all this stuff, everybody wants to invest in real estate. Well, before you can invest, you got to save. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, I was just telling somebody this morning, I said, listen, if you don't, you have to make savings a priority, not like after you pay your bills. If I have any money left over, I pay myself. You've got to, I want them to save 15% of their income. You got to do that first. And then like, if you save 15, 20% of your income, I tell people, look, I don't care what you do the rest of it. But, if you can even drill down better, the more I always ask people, and this is why I think your tool is so great. If you were a business, do you think you could stay in business very long if you didn't track your income and your outgo? How long would you be in business? And they go, not very long. All right. I said, well, you are a business. Okay. And you've got to see your family like that. And you got to manage your stuff. Wow. So go ahead.
Let me comment on that. Yeah. So I think people that feel the most joy from life do it receive that because they're intentional about it.
Yeah.
Right. That one little change is massive.
Yeah.
And that happens right now. Most people manage their money reactively, right? Stuff happens and then they're tracking, which is a reactive behavior.
Yeah.
The problem with reaction is that it has very little power to affect the present or the future. And that's one reason why the cash envelopes is so incredibly effective and tracking's not. Tracking very rarely really changes spending behavior. But cash envelopes is the only system besides Qube, but it's the only system that is proactive and gets in front of the purchase. Again, if you want to spend, you have to think, where's this money coming from? A reactionary system would say, oh, you spent this, which category should it go in?
Right.
And there's no power there to change spending behavior. But when you have to think, where's this coming from? You have to think, do I have enough money? Mm-hmm. And by making that subtle little shift, everything else in your entire spending environment changes, because now you're proactive and not reactive. And so that just goes back to this intentionality idea. If people in their business are being reactionary and just spending on whatever they have going on, they're going to spend more than they should. But if they'll create a budget, they'll create a plan beforehand and then implement that plan, they're much more, the results go through the roof. And every business owner knows that, right?
Yeah.
It works the same way in our families. When you know you've got $300 to spend in entertainment for that week or that month or whatever, when you're with the kids, you can look at that and go, oh, I planned to spend. The freedom that comes from that is immense.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, oh, I've got $1,000 in my bank account. Oh, but I've got that bill and that other bill, and then there's that other bill. And what about this weekend? Trying to do that mental math and trying to figure out, can I spend? The anxiety goes through the roof because you have no idea. There's no purpose. There's no intentionality. It's just like, and so a lot of people, that's their relationship with money, and it's awful. Qube changes that. So how Qube works is, again, just like cash envelopes. The other element of cash envelopes that often isn't talked about so much is this intentionality piece. So the normal process would be you'd go to an ATM, you'd get cash out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to take that cash and you have to choose how much to put in each envelope. This is the intentionality process. And this is happening when you get paid, not when you're at the store.
Right.
You're at the store with all the marketing, it's so hard to make good decisions.
Oh, I need these Oreo cookies. Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you go in for two things, you walk out with a whole cart full.
Right.
Because it's just so easy. There's so many things. But that's what happens. So with Qube, it's the same thing. When money gets deposited into Qube, it goes into this thing that we call the Qube cloud. You cannot spend from the cloud. It's a holding tank until you decide to give your money purpose. Once you give it purpose, that meaning you're giving it a job, you're assigning it into a category or a cube, that's where you can spend from. And what's neat with Qube is you can automate all that. So once you decide, I want my money to run like this, pay all these bills, put my money in all these bill cubes to pay bills, and then the rest of it, divide that up between these other 10 cubes, I'm good to go. And it can do that automatically, because that's another thing. People don't want to have a chore. They want it to be easy, but they also want to have intention. So you can set it up, and then it'll just run until you want to change it.
That's the best way. I mean, if you can make your life automatic and just you go out there, now you're freed yourself, because the anxiety, like you said, is a big piece. As your control goes up, as your knowledge goes up, your anxiety comes down when it comes to finances. Mm-hmm. And most people just feel out of control and they're robbing Peter to pay Paul because they just don't. I had a guy I was working with, and I'm making him, he kept a budget, but he didn't really watch it. So he calls me, and we were setting up our second meeting. He goes, I got bad news. I've been overspending. But this came up but he hadn't really looked at his budget in like 5 months. I was like, so he had it, but he hadn't looked at it. And it was definitely reactive, and he was looking at history. It's like, oh, I overspent. I was like, that's why you have to, you have to have a system so you know where your money's going.
Right.
Give it a job.
And like you were saying in the beginning, Curtis, everything comes out of cash flow, the cash flow management. So I often would teach a concept of a financial house, and at the base of that house, and you may have heard this concept, but the base of that house is your cash flow. Everything on top of that house sits on that cash flow. So how someone manages their money, they're going to accumulate debts, they're going to accumulate assets, they're going to have all the protective elements. Everything drives off of cash flow. So to your story, you're saying there with the client who said, I'm overspending. Imagine if he wasn't. Most of our users in Qube see about a $500 increase within the first couple of months of additional money. We had one couple in Colorado tell us they were saving $3,000 a month. That's so funny. She's like, how much chocolate was I buying? But it's because people stop spending on the frivolous garbage that really doesn't bring joy and satisfaction, and they start spending on what does bring them their priorities and their values, because they're intentional. Now they're prioritizing savings. Now they're prioritizing living, like spending money with the kids. And when they're at the store and they see those Oreos, they're like, oh, you know what? Actually, we only got $50 right now. I mean, there might be $10,000 in the whole system, but they've said we're spending $700 this month on food. We're down to $50. Sorry, kids, we're getting beans and rice, and that's okay because I put $300 in entertainment for you. Oh, okay. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, that's so good. How would you introduce financial topics to your kids? How do you do that, or how?
Okay. So this is awesome, and we don't have this quite yet, but probably I don't know when you're going to air this, but we're hoping to have our kid cards out in August for back to school. That's not a firm date, so don't hold me to it. Yeah, we're pushing to get those out here soon. But one of the things that is very dear to me is not only the couples, but uniting the family and money. Because how often do the kids go, I've got 3 girls and then 2 boys. My girls are all teenagers now. They'll go off and they'll babysit. They'll come back. They've got $20 or $30, and I want to be a good dad, super dad, and teach them good financial principles.
Right.
Hey, let's put 10% into giving. Let's do 20% into savings. Right. And how do you take a $20 bill and split it?
Right.
I don't want to drive down to the bank or to the store.
Right.
So it ends up being that I'm just telling them these concepts. Here's what you should do. But it's hard to implement.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So with Qube, though, you can now have a simple environment, again, where you can drop money into their cubes. They can split the money up and start teaching them the same type of intentionality with money, instead of just having cash laying around and then just blowing it on whatever. You can set up a goal cube for them, where now they've got a goal of a new bike or a car or whatever it is they're going for. If they're working, they can have their direct deposit go right into their own account. They get their own card, of course. If they have a phone or don't have a phone, if they don't have a phone, you can log in. The parent can log in to their account through their phone. Through the parent's phone.
Yeah.
If they do have their own phone, then obviously they can just log right in. But yeah, teaching kids good principles is awesome. It's even better when you can help them implement.
Yeah, implementation is key, because I feel like same thing. I'm talking to myself. I think I do both I have 3 daughters also. I only 3 though.
Nice.
And 2017, they both work. And it's like, all right, I want you saving 20% of this check. And I think they're doing it, but I don't know. And all I know is I see Amazon boxes coming every week with clothes and bags from Chipotle or whatever. I think, all right, one of my daughters, all her money goes to food and Starbucks or whatever. So I was like, all right, listen, I'm in the business, and they don't know what I think they should know, And so I can feel for some of them. I try to get them saving. I can't get them to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, whatever. I can't, and I try to hear any of that stuff. Rich Dad. I got them. I had them, my nieces and nephews, Richest Man in Babylon for Christmas. Collecting dust. So, but they're in technology, so they could, they live and breathe this stuff, apps and that kind of stuff. So I think that this is a powerful thing. Because they're going to come out of school in debts there, and they just don't know how to. They don't even have a concept of the sometime of the debt and the major they're choosing. And are you majoring in something that can allow you to make enough money to service this debt you're running up, and that kind of stuff. I know this is beyond that, but it's not, because you got to pay attention to your money. So you can say this, okay, my debt load is going to be this, and I'll make this. And, at some point that light bulb has got to go on before before graduation. So tell them about the book. So
the book I wrote, it was, the intention of the book was to be a client education piece. I mean, you probably, being in the business, you probably know that a lot of times you're saying the exact same thing over and over again to clients. It's like, okay, they need this lesson, and
I'm working on mine too, right? So yes.
Yeah. So that was the original intention with the book, although we did a full-on book, and it was great. But really, the book for me was a catalyst, because it allowed me to get all my thoughts and all of my lessons and things onto paper, and also develop the software program that I was building behind it. And like I was saying in the beginning, it got me to this point where I was frustrated because I didn't like the cash flow section. So I've thought about going back in and doing a revision and really beefing up the cash flow section, because it's like this big. Whereas, so the book's called The Order of Wealth, and it goes through basically 3 separate steps to wealth building. And I'm really big on the discipline and doing things in order, right? When you build a home, you don't start with a kitchen. That'd be stupid, right? You have to build a foundation. You have to build walls and a roof. And then you get to the interior, right? But it's last. And a lot of people want to get to that kitchen so fast that they forget to build the right structure around them. And they do that because when you think about it, how often do you take your friends down to your basement and say, hey guys, check out this foundation?
Right.
No, you take them to the pool table and the kitchen and, my big screen, and you take them inside. Or how often do you stand out on the street and go, check out my roof?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more if it's decorative, right? But you get my point.
Yeah.
So, but those things, how critical are they? Because in order for you to enjoy your kitchen and the pool table and whatever else you might have inside the house, if your roof's leaky, that's bad.
Yeah.
If your foundation's cracked or moving, really bad. But that's how a lot of people's finances are set up. They haven't done the work to get the structure correct. So I'm real big on doing things in order. I think a lot of people will go, they'll start making a buck, and really soon they want to be investors.
Yes.
It's like, dude, you haven't learned how to manage your cash flow. You have no business investing right now.
Come on, say it again. Yes, because it's like, listen, I got $3,000. I want to invest. Like, you don't have any money yet.
Yeah.
You don't. And so, like, if there's five things, we call it principles-based planning in our process, but investing is number 5. Literally, it's the last thing you should be doing.
Yeah.
And but that's where everybody wants to start. And that's where the industry leads them, because they don't make any money off them doing the stuff you just told them to do.
Right. Yeah, there's 4 different domains of money, right? There's cash flow, there's protection, assets, and liabilities. Everybody wants to get to the asset building, but if your protection sucks, as soon as you have a financial storm, and you will, it happens. I mean, no one would ever dream of building a home without a roof, but financially we do it all the time because the sun's shining today. I just made $3,000, right? And it's like, I'm gonna go be an investor. No, why don't you build up your structure? Why don't you build more
Bitcoin? Right.
Yeah, I'm getting because that's real hot right now, and it is. But people, they get into that. What is it? Not FOMO, but that fear of missing it. Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah. They get into that, and it's like they're going to miss out. And it's like, you know what? You'll be fine. I'm also really big on the transactional power of cash, and people lose that. Mark Cuban talks about this all the time. Having cash available to do stuff, to invest in things that you know and understand, is so much more valuable than that 5 to 8% you might make in the market, maybe.
Yeah, we teach people, you got to invest in yourself, your mindset, your skill set, your network. You need cash, so I'll talk to people about capitalization. Nelson Nash, I mentioned mine, say, listen, if you have money or capital, opportunities will find you.
Yes.
Yes, and then you just need to be able to read financial statements so you can vet separate the wheat from the chaff, but they will find you. And so instead of giving your money away to some fund manager you never met, you need to capitalize and look for things that you can buy or build that generate cash flow. But again, it goes back to, if you can make it, but if you don't keep it, you can't do any other stuff until you manage cash flow. That's something I love this conversation. Because that's the game is won and lost right there at cash flow management.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. It's that foundational piece. Yep. And that's the step 1 of my book. It's control. So step 1 is control. Step 2 is capitalize. Step 3 is invest. And that's how I broke it down. If you can't learn to control your money, if you're still at that phase of just learning your cash flow management, you have no business investing. The next thing you should get to is capitalizing, but that requires a whole new set of disciplines. And then investing is a whole different set of disciplines. So you go and really it's a journey of building yourself, just like you're saying.
Yeah.
Each part of each one of these steps goes in order, and the one builds upon the other. That's why it can't be short-circuited. People that do that are gamblers.
Yes.
And gamblers don't make it. Look at Vegas. Vegas is getting rich, but gamblers aren't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Because you're gambling, they're all based everything on probability and statistics. Just like I always tell people, I'd rather bet on actuarial science, insurance than Wall Street, in terms of certainty. I want you to tell them about where they can, anything I didn't ask you that you want to bring out, and then tell them where to go to how to get this fantastic tool.
So the bottom line with everything we're talking about, I think, is control. So hopefully, if anyone's hearing anything today, they're hearing about how when you can change the environment of your money, life gets so much easier. And I firmly believe that most people struggle so much with this because the environment itself does not support good financial principles. It doesn't. It's void of any principles. It's just a bucket in the background, or in the backyard. I mean, in the ground. It doesn't do anything.
So when you say the environment, you're talking about like the typical financial system as it is taught out there. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. But the current environment doesn't support anything. It doesn't support anything. It's just void of anything. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not that it's bad. It's just empty. So.
And on top of that, they don't teach financial education in school. So it's empty and you're empty with no principles, no foundation, no nothing.
Yep. When we have nothing, it's so easy for bad to slip in because there's nothing. And bad usually is easier than good principles. So Qube's built backwards. it was built first as a budgeting system with philosophy and everything, and then we added in the banking aspect of it. So Qube is a full banking suite. We can do everything that a normal bank can do, but it's budgeting first, so principles first, banking second, because you do have to be able to move the money and do all that. So we're regulated like a bank and everything, but again, it's built upside down. It's built budgeting first with those principles. But it can be customized. So if you wanted to run it just like a normal bank account, you can turn off all of our principles and just have a bucket if that's what you want.
Right.
And some people do that.
And be just as broke as you are now. No, it's cool.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. But when you come in, it naturally, it tries to set itself up with all the principles on, but you can turn them all off if you want. You can design it how you want.
So it is a bank. Like, so when their paycheck comes in, is it going into, like, let's say Wells Fargo, wherever? Just is it connected to that, or is it going into?
It goes into Qube. It goes into that Qube cloud, right? Where you then have to allocate the money into your various cubes with a purpose, and that process can be done manually. That process can be automated.
This is personal use right now.
Correct. Probably next year. We're working on a business application. We actually have a hospital up in Idaho that is testing our system in a commercial application. And yeah, so that's it's a really easy segue to go from someone's personal life and then segue into business, into small business and mid-sized business. So that's where we're going.
That is fascinating. Okay. Tell them, so how would they get it? Just go to your app store, and what do they have to do?
You can go to the app store. Qube Money with a Q, so Qube with a Q, QubeMoney.com is the website, and you can find us on both Android and Apple stores under the same name, QubeMoney.com, Qube with a Q. Yep.
I'm looking forward.
So you go in, you download. Now you are setting up a bank account, so there's that process. We get a lot of fraud, just like all the online banks do. So we've got a nice little fraud department. So if we do ask you for an address because you just moved, understand that we're keeping everybody safe. It's amazing how many Russians are trying to steal money or launder money. It's shocking. Anyway, but you are setting up a bank account, so there's that process. But most people, we've had teenagers get through the whole sign-up process in as fast as 2.5 minutes. We actually timed a couple. It's funny. And we had my partner's grandma get through in about 15 minutes. So somewhere between there is your expected time frame to knock out the application process.
So if I had a business, I'm just thinking about me now, and I have money coming through my business account, and then I actually transfer it, or I'll either pay myself. Usually I pay myself and into my personal accounts. So I could either manually sweep it over or set it up to direct deposit. So when they pay me, it will go here.
Yeah, the best one, if you have direct deposit, that is by far the easiest. We have 2 days early. So if you normally get paid on a Friday or pay yourself on a Friday, you'll have your money Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how you've got that set up. But direct deposit is by far the easiest way to move money in. A lot of that comes down to risk and fraud. So that's the best. But we can also draft it in. So you can go into Qube and you can add your bank and you could pull it in from your other account. Right. You could also, from your Wells Fargo or whatever you have, you can push it over to Qube. So just whatever works for people. But the best thing is to get something consistent. Again, you want to be able to set it and forget it. If you want to pay yourself $1,500 a week or whatever it is, set that up so it's happening automatically. Then you have that money coming in consistently, break that out into your cubes with intention, with purpose, and now you're set to spend. Oh, another really cool thing is Apple Pay or Android Pay are amazing. I almost never use my plastic card anymore. I just tap my phone. It's great. This is one of the benefits of COVID. Almost all the merchants upgraded to contactless payment systems. So it's super, super fast. It's literally tap, double click on my phone, tap the device, and I'm out. It's faster than getting your card out of your wallet.
I gotta learn how to work this. I actually would like coach on this, like set these up, because it would be helpful to me to help them manage their cash flow, as an advisor. So
yep. And one of the big challenges with creating any new habit is making it easy.
Yeah.
And often making it easy is just setting it up.
Yeah.
And so Qube's designed so you can set it once, get everything set up, and it'll run. So it makes it easy. And then that habit, And then the environment just changed for you, right? Now your money operates this way. You just have to run that new method, and it's easy.
Yes, that is very cool. Would you like them to follow you somewhere, or if they want to find out more what you got going on, where should they go to learn about how to use it?
Yeah, we post a lot of great information, how-tos, as well as news of the company on our social media, both on Facebook and Instagram. It's just under the same name.
Instagram?
Qube
Okay. Qube Money,
yep.
Instagram. Okay.
Qube Money, Q with a Q. Yep. Just all the same. We have a YouTube channel as well. Got some good videos there. Also, Qube Money with a Q.
My mind is like spinning. I can't even think of any questions. I'm like, all right, how does that work? That's very cool. So I'm going to try it actually and see if I can get my kids on it. But Ryan, listen, this has been fantastic. I love this stuff because I love this topic, and it's good when it's built by somebody that's is in the street, came from working with people. You know what I mean? Not some egghead, or in the bank trying to figure out how to get you to spend more money. You're coming at it with a service heart, with the starting with why, and because money, something like 60% of divorce happens because of money. And, if we can get that problem fixed, they're halfway to the winner's circle in terms of staying together.
That's right. That is exactly right. And when you can change your environment, you can succeed.
My man, thank you so much. Ryan, thanks for being on the Practical Wealth Show. Folks, go out there and download that app and, listen to his YouTube. I'm sure there's, a bunch of creative things that you do that talk about all that, or Instagram, and get good at your money, folks. Listen, go out there, make it a prosperous day. Check out Ryan. And Ryan, thank you again for being on the Practical Wealth Show.
You're so welcome, Curtis. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be